What if I told you that your diesel truck could easily last 500,000 miles? But only if you avoid the rookie mistakes that kill it before 100,000. Right now, you could be unknowingly shortening your diesel's life with a single bad habit. And it has nothing to do with fuel quality or engine size. These aren't just common mistakes. These are silent killers. And every experienced diesel driver knows to avoid them. But beginners, they do them every single day without realizing the damage. Stick around because tip number 6 is something even most dealerships won't tell you, and it could mean the difference between a bulletproof engine and a $7,000 repair bill. Let's dive into the 10 diesel secrets that real pros swear by, and that most people have never even heard of. 1. Never skip the glow plug warm-up. Diesel engines don't use spark plugs. They rely on glow plugs to heat the combustion chamber before ignition. If you turn the key and immediately crank the engine in cold weather, you're forcing it to fire without reaching proper temperatures. That puts immense strain on your starter, battery, and internal components. Experienced diesel owners know to wait for the glow plug indicator to turn off before starting. It only takes a few extra seconds, but it massively reduces engine wear, especially in winter. Modern diesel systems have improved glow plug technology, but even with newer models, patience pays off. Skipping this step once or twice might not seem like a big deal, but do it repeatedly, and you'll wear out the plugs faster and increase carbon buildup. Want your diesel to last? Respect the glow plug cycle every time. 2. Don't floor it. When cold. Ever. If you drive your diesel like a gas car, you're asking for trouble. Cold engines plus heavy throttle equals disaster waiting to happen. Diesel engines operate under much higher compression ratios and produce more torques at lower RPMs. When cold, engine oil is thicker and doesn't circulate as efficiently, meaning critical components like the turbocharger, pistons, and bearings aren't properly protected. Experienced drivers let the engine idle briefly, then drive gently until the temperature gauge reaches normal. No high boosts, no flooring it, no towing heavy loads until it's fully warm. Pushing a cold diesel is one of the fastest ways to wear out your turbo, overfuel the engine, or even crack cylinder heads due to uneven expansion. If you want that diesel to run for decades, let it warm up naturally. It's not about babying it. It's about preserving what makes diesel great: torque, longevity, and low-end power. 3. Change your fuel filter religiously. Here's something they rarely tell you at the dealership. Diesel fuel systems are more sensitive to contamination than gas engines. That's why experienced drivers always replace their fuel filters on schedule, sometimes even earlier. Why? Because diesel fuel naturally contains more particulates. Combine that with condensation, old fuel, or bad station storage, and you've got the perfect recipe for injector damage. High-pressure common rail systems used in modern diesels operate at up to 30,000 pounds per square inch. That's like a microscopic fire hose inside your engine. 1 grain of dirt? That can ruin an injector worth over $400 each. Most owners' manuals recommend filter changes every 15,000 to 20,000 miles. But truckers and longtime diesel owners will tell you, do it at 10,000 if you want peace of mind. It's a cheap habit that can save you thousands. Skipping it? That's playing Russian roulette with your fuel system. 4. Never let your diesel sit for too long. Gasoline evaporates. Diesel oxidizes and grows algae. If you leave your diesel sitting for weeks or months without starting, you're inviting fuel breakdown, injector gumming, and even water contamination in the tank. This is especially dangerous in humid climates, where moisture enters the tank through condensation. Over time, this creates rust in metal tanks, bacterial sludge in the fuel, and injector-damaging gunk. Experienced diesel drivers use additives like biocides or diesel stabilizers if they plan to store their vehicles. Others make it a habit to start and drive the truck at least once every week or two, even if it's just around the block. The worst thing you can do to a diesel? Let it sit. These engines love to run, just not in short idle bursts. Drive them, keep them moving. That's how you keep them healthy. 5. Use a diesel additive, but only the right kind. Think all fuel additives are snake oil. Think again. While it's true that many are marketing fluff, experienced diesel drivers know that the right additive can make a huge difference. Why? Because diesel fuel in the US is ultra low sulfur, which means it has less natural lubricity. That's bad news for older injection pumps and fuel system components that were designed with lubricated fuel in mind. Adding a quality diesel treatment can restore lubrication, prevent injector wear, and clean carbon buildup. It also boosts cetane ratings, giving you smoother combustion, better cold starts, and even slight fuel economy gains. But beware, not all additives are equal. Look for products with independent lab testing, like Stanodyne, Power Service, or Hot Shot Secret. Avoid universal cleaners that claim to fix everything. Used right, a $10 bottle every few tanks can prevent a $3,000 injector replacement. That's a no-brainer. 6. Don't trust the lifetime transmission fluid myth. Here's a dirty little secret some manufacturers don't want to admit, especially when it comes to diesel trucks. Lifetime transmission fluid is one of the most misleading terms in modern automotive marketing. While some vehicles claim their transmission fluid never needs changing, experienced diesel owners know better. Automatic transmissions, especially those hauling loads or towing, generate immense heat. Over time, fluid breaks down, loses viscosity, and becomes contaminated with clutch material. Waiting until your transmission slips or shifts rough is already too late. Savvy diesel owners flush their transmission fluid every 30,000 to 60,000 miles, depending on load usage. They also change the filter, not just the fluid. Why? Because the filter traps metal shavings, friction particles, and heat-baked contaminants. Neglect this, and you're flirting with a $4,000 rebuild. Transmission service is like changing engine oil. It's a necessity. And if you drive a diesel, it's even more important because of the torque stress those transmissions handle every day. 7. Don't ignore your exhaust system, especially the DPF. Modern diesel trucks are loaded with emissions gear. One of the most critical and most misunderstood is the diesel particulate filter, DPF. This filter traps soot particles from the exhaust and periodically burns them off during a process called regeneration. Sounds simple, right? But here's the catch. If you're only doing short trips, the DPF doesn't get hot enough to burn off the soot. It clogs fast. Once that DPF gets clogged, your engine goes into limp mode. Regions fail, back pressure rises, and eventually you're staring at a $2,000 replacement bill. Experienced diesel drivers know to take their trucks on longer highway runs to complete proper regions. Some even monitor their region status with aftermarket gauges or tuners. The trick? Understand your truck's DPF behavior. Never cancel regions. Never let soot levels creep up without action. DPF problems are avoidable, but only if you drive smart. 8. Always let the turbo cool before shutdown. This one's huge, and it's one of the most common rookie mistakes that can silently murder your turbocharger. Diesel turbos spin at over 100,000 RPMs. When you shut off the engine immediately after hard driving or towing, the turbo is still red hot. But with the engine off, oil stops circulating. That creates a condition known as coking, where oil burns and hardens inside the turbo's bearings. Do that enough times and your turbo will fail prematurely. And that's a $2,000 to $4,000 lesson in patience. Experienced drivers know to let the engine idle for 1 to 2 minutes before shutting down after heavy use. That allows oil to cool and circulate, preventing heat damage. Some even install turbo timers to automate the process. So the next time you pull into a rest stop after towing a trailer or climbing a steep grade, don't shut it off immediately. Take a breath. Idle a moment, and your turbo will thank you. 9. Monitor your EGTS, exhaust gas temperatures. Exhaust gas temperature, or EGT, is one of the most important readings in diesel performance, and one that beginners almost never track. Why does it matter? Because EGTs tell you exactly how hot your combustion chamber is getting under load. High EGTs mean you're pushing the engine hard, especially dangerous when towing or driving up steep grades. Experienced diesel owners install aftermarket EGT gauges and monitor them constantly. They know to back off the throttle or downshift when temps climb too high, typically above 1,250 to 1,300 degrees Fahrenheit sustained. Why? Because excessive EGTs can lead to melted pistons, cracked manifolds, or even turbo failure. And the factory dash gauge doesn't tell you any of this. If you drive a diesel and you tow, modify, or travel through mountainous terrain, EGT monitoring is essential. It's not just about power, it's about survival. 10. Avoid cheap fuel. Here's why. It's tempting to grab the cheapest diesel at the pump, but here's what experienced drivers know. Cheap diesel isn't always clean diesel. Low-grade diesel can contain more water, less cetane, and inconsistent blends. That means poor combustion, rough starts, and long-term injector damage. Some cheap stations also lack proper filtration or water separation systems. Over time, bad fuel clogs injectors, erodes pump tolerances, and introduces air pockets into the system. What do experienced owners do? They buy from high-volume truck stops with good fuel turnover. They stick to brands known for quality additives and filtration. Some even test fuel quality with kits or carry spare filters on long trips. A few cents saved per gallon today could cost thousands in fuel system repairs tomorrow. Choose your station like your engine depends on it, because it does. Final thoughts. Learn from the pros, or pay like a rookie. Owning a diesel truck means power, durability, and serious work capability, but it also demands smarter habits. Every tip in this video came straight from seasoned diesel drivers, truckers, fleet operators, and longtime mechanics. The truth is, modern diesel engines are more powerful and cleaner than ever, but they're also more sensitive. Neglecting the basics leads to expensive lessons, breakdowns at the worst possible time, and regrets that could have been avoided for a few bucks and a few minutes of effort. If you learned even one thing that could save you $1,000 repair, hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this with someone who just bought their first diesel. And if you've got your own diesel wisdom, share it in the comments.